Thanks for joining me again on the podcast Global Perspectives. Just gonna talk about dance
Yeah.
today. Yeah. So I guess Brad, I guess we could start off with just what is your background in dance?
Yeah, so my background in dance is pretty just I guess it's very different from most other people's backgrounds. It's just I'm a 100% self-taught dancer. I just learned as much as I could off of uh forums back then and also like whatever YouTube videos were really out about dance. That was before you could really even find a lot of dance videos on YouTube because YouTube was literally had just come out maybe in like 2007
Hmm.
ish is when I kind of started discovering like street dance specifically what I do. And like yeah, I would say that it's just kind of been me and like my friends just kind of figuring it out. Like it's kind of weird to say, it's kind of weird to say about dance because it is such a serious thing, but like a lot of street dance is kind of up to interpretation, I guess,
Hmm.
when you get to like a certain level.
Hmm.
And, it's a lot of fun, but it's also kind of just different. And also, like, yeah, different for people who are in dance, especially in like the more like, I guess, traditional sense.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
for those viewers who don't know, but Brad was actually my dance teacher when I was in college. So met him through my brother who also danced as well. But let's go back to talking about how you said that around '07 you discovered dance. How did that come to fruition? Like was it like a movie? Did you see someone do it on the street? You're like, yeah, I want to do that. That looks great. How did that come about? Like,
Yeah. So actually, it's funny because me and you have this in common. I discovered, I would say, street dance in 2007, but I was always into dancing before that because of like Michael Jackson. My dad like my dad had this DVD that was literally just all of the Michael Jackson music videos, like
mhm.
just in a row, like all of them. And like, his dancing is Michael Jackson's dancing. Like it captivates, like, like just captures you. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah. There's something
that's
about
just
it.
how it
There's
was.
there's a bit of
Yeah.
a charm with it, even though
Yeah.
some of the moves he may do, like the crotch grab and the hip thrust, may
Yeah.
be a little
Yeah.
bit questionable. There's just something about it that's just charming, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely questionable sometimes, and like it's just interesting. It's just I guess it's just as I guess it's just different. That's I think what was interesting to me is that you didn't see anybody dance like that. And
Hmm.
um it's funny because it wasn't really the moonwalk that was the thing that kind of made, like blew my mind and made me want to dance. Like people always assume it was the moonwalk, but like
Yeah.
I have seen the moonwalk before, like in all of those music video or in some of the music videos. And when YouTube was out, you see him do it like all the time, like
Yeah.
just in whatever videos. But is actually a video I was watching of him. I think it was his 2005 MTV Music Award performance, something like that, or 1995. I don't remember which one it was now. It was probably actually no, it was not 2005. It was 1995 because 2000 his last concert was in 2001. So it was 1995's I think MTV Music Awards, and he did Billie Jean with Slash,
Yeah.
and he does this robot walk, like, which is funny because like he technically it's very good. You can't say anything. I don't When I say basic, I don't mean bad, but it is very basic moves in terms of like foundation. It's
Hmm.
just like foundational robotic walk. Like what is it? Android walk forward, and like I don't know, that blew my mind because I'd never seen someone walk like I've seen you hear the robot, but that's like a whole different other. That's a whole other level of like
Yeah.
robot. And like he was doing like ticking in it too, which is I had never seen before. And that was like, wow, what kind of dance is that? And then you kind of start looking up robot dance, you kind
Yeah.
of just start finding that kind of thing. And then like you kind of understand, you kind of see that it's like popping. You hear that like this word popping when you start looking at robot dance,
Hmm.
you know and but you're kind of like, what is popping? Like, you don't like, I was like that at least because on Maui, there's no dance studios. The
Right.
one dance studio was an hour and 30 minutes away, and they didn't teach that kind of, dance at all.
Yeah.
So you just kind of are, I just kind of was like, what do I like look at and like look for? And I guess I just found the robot and I found like animation.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's really what sparked my interest was actually the style of animation, which is kind of under popping, quote
Gotcha.
unquote under popping.
And is that still
Yeah.
your preferred dance style, dance, type of category that you like to pursue? Because I know you break dance, you b-boy, you lock,
Mm.
and you also do choreography. But is that kind of like your roots, and is that still something that is your favorite out of all the dance
I
styles?
would say it's actually like to like the closest to my heart still in a
Mm-hmm.
way. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's the dance style that makes me like remember um like why I love dance, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But I would say it's not the style that I have pursued, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. It's not the style that
Yeah.
you are actively studying and improving on. It's the
Yeah,
style
yeah, I
that.
am again
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I am again now. I've come back to it recently in the last, like, year or so.
Yeah.
But, I would say now locking has for sure been the style that I have been, like, putting most of my time into in,
Yeah.
like yeah.
Well, in my dance background and story is so it was right after Step Up 2 came out, whatever year that was,
Mhm. Yeah.
and seeing the Jabberwockies, and that I discovered street dance, but I didn't actually develop an interest in dance until my brother started doing it, Peter,
Mhm.
and he had a friend, a mutual friend of ours as well, Alec, who at the time was tutting and dancing, popping most of it and tutting in high school. And so my brother was dancing, and I thought, oh, well, that looks pretty cool. What can I do? And I remember my brother, he looked up this YouTube video on how to do the wave with your arms, and then he sat in the bathroom mirror, in front of the bathroom mirror for hours at a time trying to perfect that.
Yeah.
And it's just a simple move, but it's harder than it looks.
It's hard.
So yeah, at least for
It's hard.
someone who wasn't trying to dance, and then I started doing it, and yeah, I kind of got frustrated with it, um, and I was still in high school at the time. I thought to myself, what can I do? Um, and my brother was like, you're talking about, he was recently getting into Michael Jackson, and I was like, oh, maybe I could learn how to moonwalk or something like that. And
Yeah.
so I looked up the Billie Jean video, and of when he did the moonwalk, and and yeah, by this time YouTube was kind of already developed somewhat, so I looked up all these how-to moonwalk videos and things like that, and I would just watch it over and over again, and I even downloaded and pirated some of those concert videos onto my iPod at the time so I could rewatch it. And sometimes
Nice.
what pissed me off was sometimes they would cut off like the bottom of his legs, or like
Oh,
the video
yeah.
would crop at the knees, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
I would get so mad because I'm like, I want to watch and learn. Like, why are you doing this? This is a bad video. Dislike. Can move on to
Yeah,
the next
right.
video. Find another one. Um, and so after I learned the moonwalk, and after that, I thought, hey, I could probably just learn the whole Michael Jackson routine for Billie Jean, and then eventually became the song that I always danced to. And then at prom, the DJ played that song, and everyone was watching me, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And to be honest with you, lack for a better word, I think part of me wanted to do it because I I kind of wanted the attention a little bit.
A lot of dancers start
Yeah,
for
yeah,
that
kind of thing.
reason.
Because it's like,
Yeah.
hey, people can watch me moonwalk, and no one can moonwalk, And at the time, I remember my friends were all making fun of me because they're like, Paul doesn't know how to dance, and he won't ever grind, at prom or
Yeah.
winter formal. So what's he gonna do? Stand around with his hands in his pockets? And then when I
Yeah.
broke out those routines, everyone was like, wow, this kid can dance. So yeah, that's a bit of my background. And then when I got to college, and also meeting you for the first time too, you told me about these other dance styles, popping, locking, breaking, and you kind of introduced me and I dipped my fingers and my foot into each individual category. And I still like locking. I think locking is the most fun to this day.
Mhm.
I do enjoy breaking, but it is a little bit taxing. And then
Yeah.
popping, not so much. And like you said, the style that you hold closest and dearest to your heart is popping and animation. For me, it's those
Yeah.
Michael Jackson routines. Like I can still
Yeah.
recreate those, and yeah. So it's been fun, and I do like it. Though I unfortunately don't dance as much as I should anymore. But yeah, it's still a favorite pastime of mine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess going off of that, so we can start from the beginning with, I guess locking was the first of those dance styles to emerge, correct?
Yeah, locking was the oldest and is the oldest, sorry. It was the one that kinda is the creator of locking, Don Campbell, also known as Campbell Lock, is known as the godfather of street dance because he is essentially the first street creator of a street dance. And yeah, that would be locking. And locking came out in like it was being developed in like the like 60s, 70s, like early 70s, mid to late 60s. And Don Campbell like created it by accident. And that's kind of like that's kind of like the beauty of the dance style is that it was kind of Don dancing on his own and like whatever like dancing his own dance and like not really caring what other people thought because the move that he was getting wrong was he would do moves like the funky chicken and this move called the robot shuffle,
Mhm.
which would kind of like it's kind of hard to describe, but your arms kind of go up in this way, like you kind of do like this like bounce, step back, step behind kind of move with like your arms going up, and he would lock his arms in place and he would stop. He would kind of the move isn't supposed to really stop, it's supposed to be kind of fluid, and he would like do this lock, and he was doing the move incorrectly, and people would like laugh at him. But
Mhm.
he would just be like, "Oh, like some people would say that's cool, like keep doing it." So he kept like developing it, and that move became the lock, and then it became what was called Campbell locking. So locking isn't the original name; it's actually Campbell locking, and it comes from Don Campbell.
Interesting.
And yeah, that's the era where you have like right before the lockers, um, which is just kind of like Don Campbell and Scooby Doo, and like Fluky Luke, like those guys, like they really like kind of like the developing the dance. And like when Don and I think it was his girlfriend was developing it on like Soul Train, they would like do it on the Soul Train line because they're both Soul Train dancers.
Mhm.
Like a lot of these people were on Soul Train just like developing it there. It was really like this kind of beautiful like organic thing because Don it came from you know something so I guess natural, because it's a mistake.
Yeah.
Like everybody makes mistakes, but he just went with it, and it ended up becoming this entire dance,
Yeah.
which is really kind of a beautiful thing in my opinion, which is one my favorite thing about locking. And the idea behind locking is just essentially that you take Don Campbell's moves, you never want to break away from the foundation, but you take his moves and you really make it your own.
Yeah.
It has, in my opinion, um like a creative freedom that's just different from the other dance styles. I don't really want to say anyone is better or worse. I think
Yeah.
just locking has a creative freedom that's different.
I feel like with locking, it's really more lighthearted. Like you are,
Yeah,
it's really about the dance for me. That's why I think locking is my favorite. I have the most fun with it,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
exactly.
I feel like it's also in a way also the simplest of those three dance styles that we talked about, popping and breaking and
Mm,
locking. I feel like it's very simplified, and in a way, I think that's where the true beauty, because
yeah,
the foundation is there, and it's kind of like the way that I would describe it to people whenever I talk about locking is like you can already think of it like kind of like a sketches. The sketch is already there. You're just painting it in whatever color you like, and then
yeah.
in the next routine you do the same thing. Versus with, I guess with more with popping and breakdancing, there's a bit more of a theory behind it, how things are supposed to be done and things like that. And so I feel
A
that
little
with
bit.
locking, yeah, I feel like with locking that is always the case. Plus, I think with locking the attire is great. I mean, you saw people
Yeah,
rocking the fedoras, the suspenders, and so
yeah. It's
I
just
think
fun,
yeah,
happy, bright colors. Like yeah, it's kind of it is really, I like exactly how you said, like it's like the sketches there and you kind of just paint over it,
yeah,
and like
yeah,
yeah,
and
the lack of formula, which like not necessarily these other dances have a strict formula,
yeah,
Some people might say they do, but like I think locking's lack of like it's again locking still has a small formula too that you have to follow, but like
mhm.
the lack of just like yeah, exactly like over like an overbearing formula is a really interesting concept for like this dance, and I think that's what attracts me to locking.
Yeah, and when you talked about how it evolved from what would have been what would have been considered a mistake in dance.
Hmm.
I think that's also interesting because in a way that's how dance kind of branched off because people make mistakes and back then, and I think one of the famous dancers Sugar Pop mentioned is that he tried teaching people certain moves and they would get it somewhat right, and when it
Yeah.
got into the mainstream media with pop culture like Michael Jackson, then that's when it took off and that became its own dance style kind of thing. And so I think that's just also really
Hmm.
cool just to see how it's kind of like in a creative sense, there really is no mistake. It's just more so a derivative of the original product, and so
Yeah.
it became its own. It took a life of its own, which I thought was really unique. Because because something that I thought was interesting regarding that is Michael Jackson's naming of the moonwalk. It was never called the moonwalk. I think it
Yeah,
was
it
by
wasn't.
who was it? Who first did it? Was it the Electric Boogaloo's or was it the I forget who the first group that did it on Soul Train, but
Oh.
yeah, but it was
So yeah, that's a difficult question because everybody asks that, and everyone kind of has like an opinion of like where the first people who did it, like who
mhm,
were the first people who did it. So it was originally called the backslide.
yeah the backslide, but then
Yeah.
but I guess the routine had a move in it called the moonwalk, and then MJ just took the name moonwalk, named it the moonwalk, and commercially it worked out, it fit, and it stuck, forever.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
originally called technically the technical term is called the backslide. But if you called it
Yeah.
backslide now, people would look at you and say you're weird because Michael Jackson popularized it as the moonwalk.
Yeah,
Um,
but it actually like there are videos of mimes from the 30s doing that move.
oh,
Like
like in Paris?
no, I don't know where, I think in America, like not mimes, but like or like there's mimes and there's also like performers,
Hmm.
like just singers or dancers who do that move. Like you can look it up on YouTube. Yeah, like they're all over the place. And it's just, you know, there's so many influences, of like who was the first to start it. And it's like I think a move like that like has actually so much more history than people think,
Yeah.
that like putting a one creator is like so hard to put is like so hard to like do, I think.
Yeah.
It's just like
Yeah, and I think that's the common misconception that people have is that Michael Jackson did not create the moonwalk. He
yeah,
was
Michael
taught it
Jackson
to
did
it.
not create it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was
It
taught by Casper John Candidate and I think I forgot who's the second guy because there was two documentaries that I remember watching. One was Casper John Candidate and another member
mhm.
in his group. I don't want to say Jeffrey
I can't remember.
Daniels.
Yeah, it was Jeffrey Daniels. Yeah,
Jeffrey
Jeffrey
Daniels.
Daniels.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeffrey Daniels.
Um,
I was about to say, I was like, "Boy, something is Jeffrey Daniels." Yeah.
yeah.
Like he was the one who actually was on one of the documentaries saying that it's called the backslide.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and Michael Jackson had a wide variety of teachers as well, like
Yeah. I
Pop
mean,
and
Boogaloo
Taco,
Shrimp.
yeah,
Yeah.
Sugar Pop, and all those other dances from the OG dances from back in the day. And it's
Yeah.
yeah, and it's kind of funny that I didn't know about this whole, in a way, a culture in and of itself, like this whole other world when I started learning more about these dancers that revolutionized this movement of dance.
Yeah.
Like Sugar Pop and Pop and Taco and Pop and
Yeah.
Pete and Boogaloo Sam and things like that. So it is a really interesting time to look back upon and see that. But
Yeah, but see, it's interesting to comment because it's interesting that you say that because there are people too that, like you said, people don't know those people, but then also like those people had influence. Like
yeah,
popping originated in Oakland by the Oakland Boogaloo guys and the Strutters out in Oakland. Like and the Fresno Boogaloo guys, which are the Electric Boogaloo, actually have some influence uh from the Oakland Boogaloo and Strutters. So the guys like Pop Tart, who I don't know if you've heard of, like Pop Tart, or like um oh man, like I can't remember their names right now. I'm blanking out, but like and like those OGs from like the strutting, like oh man, what's his name? The Playboys. Yeah, that's what they're called. The Playboy, like Playboys Inc. Like strutters in the Bay Area, like goes back to like 1982. Like Bay Area strutting is like one of the original like dances that's under the popping umbrella. And like that's
mhm,
something that people also don't know is that the word popping like is actually the incorrect term for like the hits that you see when people actually pop. Like it's called hitting. And like
mhm.
any of these things any of these styles, because that's what they are all individual styles, are kind of put under the realm of popping.
Hmm.
you know, and there are all of these OGs in like that revolutionized like these styles that are unheard of, like the like waves coming, like there's a huge like Polynesian like popular, like I guess like you know, like dancers, like popular, like population of like Polynesian dancers
Hmm.
in the Bay Area, and like a lot of like waving was influenced by watching like their dances,
Yeah.
you know, and like these are a lot of like, you know, like OG Cobra is like a really good example of that, and like
Hmm.
all of these guys that people have no idea, you know, exist, who have even less fame than the Electric Boogaloo's,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and
And
like
yeah,
that's something
it's
too.
kind of interesting that how you say that how those influences came. Like I remember when you told me when you were teaching me breakdancing and just the form of top rock, which is basically the moves that you make before you get down to the ground, basically movement on your feet. That a lot of it like can originate from salsa and other dance styles as well. So there's
Hmm.
influences from ballet and things like that. So it's kind of interesting to see that as a kind of like a melting pot where these people are taking influences from other dance styles and implementing them into this hip hop form or this, I guess the
Hmm.
street form. Which is also very interesting that when we talk about the street form, for me, I grew up dancing on cement, and I
Hmm.
didn't grow up in a formal dance studio, and so it was really interesting to see myself in front of the mirror for the first time. But
Yeah.
yeah, how did popping come about? Where did that originate from? Because Don Campbell with the lockers, was it a subset
Yeah.
of, or did it evolve from locking?
They're no, they're actually from different areas, and that's kind of what I was just referring to actually, like the Bay Area Boogaloo
Hmm.
and the Oakland Boogaloo and the Oakland Shredders. Those were the first poppers. Those guys were like the first ones. Like I don't want to say first poppers. That's like kind of really like naming them,
Hmm.
but like they're originally those dance styles is what influenced what we know as popping today.
Gotcha.
Like is essentially what it was, and that started in the Bay Area, and of course the Fresno guys, like I was saying, Electric Boogaloo are the Fresno, like the Fresno Boogaloo, like they also revolutionized it too. I mean, like Boogaloo Sam created the walkout, which is like foundation, you
Hmm.
know, and like the whole Boogaloo, that whole like the traditional, I guess you would say, quote unquote, like traditional style that you see in most battles is the Electric Boogaloo style,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
and like that came from Fresno, but it actually is separate from locking. Locking came, I think was originally started being developed in LA,
Gotcha.
I believe. And yeah, they kind of just got weirdly mixed together when there was when sorry, not when there was there when there's a style when the style called pop locking became kind of popular in LA, and pop locking is just a style of popping, but it's called pop locking, and
Hmm.
it's from LA, and I think it might have some like locking influence from it, but it's majority of it is like a popping style. And like that, in my opinion, I think that style kind of what made it a little bit more confusing for the general public, you know,
Hmm.
for people who just are not, you know, educated in like street dance,
Hmm.
you know, but they are separate dances created by completely separate people and groups of people.
Yeah.
They do have some influences with each other though. Like like the original lockers, like I think it was Don Campbell or Shabadoo would do the robot. You know, there was like
Yeah.
actually a guy who did the robot like in the lockers, and then the Electric Boogaloo had a group before them. I think it was before them, called the Electronic Boogaloo Lockers, who had a locker in them. You know, so it was kind of like there was some trade off, but they are at the, you know, foundation very different.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then where did breakdancing come from? It was
So
somewhere on the East Coast, right?
yeah, so breaking is like, and this is where things really get confusing for people who aren't educated in like street dance. Like, so breaking comes from New York, and it comes from hip hop culture. So when people know about hip hop nowadays, is like they usually think of it as just rap music, or like
Hmm.
hip hop music, or the hip hop, like, you know, I guess like just, yeah, genre of music, and like, you know, whatever comes with that you see on like TV, you
Yeah.
know. But hip hop culture, like like the culture of that whole, you know, like that birthed that whole genre of music, started in the 70s, and it is essentially like 4 aspects of hip hop culture. There's MCing, which we know of as rapping nowadays, graffiti, DJing, and breaking. So those 4 aspects make up hip hop culture, and hip hop culture was essentially just birthed from the Bronx as a way for these like basically these young kids to just kind of have fun,
Mm-hmm.
and like kind of just bring people together, bring like the community together,
Yeah.
and it's started by this guy named DJ Cool Herc, who like threw like the first party of hip hop at his like apartment complex. And that's where you had and it was like the first time all of the elements of hip hop were there: breaking, rapping, DJing, uh, and graffiti. And it birthed this culture that has now been kind of like popularized in the media, and kind of like it's obviously evolved, in a lot of ways, but essentially breaking is just the dance style of hip hop culture, and it
Yeah.
comes from the East Coast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, b-boying and breaking are the same way of just saying breakdancing, but b-boy is
Yeah.
more so specifying a male breakdancer, and b-girl would then be designating a female
Yeah.
breakdancer.
They kind of need to get rid of that, in my opinion. I just call them all breakers. I mean, like,
Breakers, yeah.
yeah, because you dance to the break of the song. Like the song will, the break of the song is where it's usually just the drums playing.
Yeah.
You see it in a lot of songs like James Brown music and stuff, and it's like that's what the b-boy, break boy, and break a girl.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's just
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because a lot of those songs, yeah, at least that we dance to, like the bongo song. I forgot what it
yeah,
was called.
Apache.
Apache. Yeah, yeah, that was,
Yeah.
I guess, one of the most iconic breakdancing tracks out
Yeah.
there, and it's
Yeah.
such a great track to dance to. So,
Mhm.
yeah,
It's that one, The Mexican by Babe Ruth, and Give It Up or Turn It Loose by
yeah,
James
but
Brown.
James Brown. Yep, those are the 3 iconic
Yeah.
ones that any breaker will instantly recognize, and can dance to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I first heard Apache or Give It Up and Turn It Loose, I was like, "Whoa, this track is hot!" So,
Yeah, it's a pretty like fun track to dance to, and the break in it is really long, which is like my favorite thing about it.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's also I don't know why, but I think Apache is my favorite. No, not to discredit James Brown or anything, but I think
Oh yeah.
I think Apache is my favorite. Also
Hey,
because
we all have our opinions, man.
well, also I think it's because the first time I heard Apache was when I watched the Red Bull BC1 when Nagin beat, I think it was Just Do It in the finals, and that song was there, and I was like, wow, that was a really cool track. And I remember when I was still learning how to dance and getting more into breakdancing, I would look up these videos of, and I thought to myself, wow, these guys are so cool. I want to be just like them. And like Bboy Cloud,
Yeah,
Gravity,
Cloud.
those guys. That was so cool seeing them and seeing the things that they did. Like I remember seeing Cloud's King Spin, and I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
holy cow! I would never have thought that move, because for me at the same time I was very basic, breaker in training at the moment under your tutelage. So when I was seeing these moves, I was like, Brad, what is this move called? I want to learn it. And I remember you telling me, like, I don't know that name of that move, but or it has like 10 different names, So.
Yeah. It's also like, and I'll say this: you say I taught you, but it's actually funny because I consider it more we were learning at the same time, because I actually had started just right before you did.
Yeah,
And
but
I was teaching you, essentially not teaching you like you needed to learn. I was teaching you literally what I had learned like maybe the week before. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like it's funny that you mentioned like there's like 10 different names for stuff, because that's such like in my opinion, just something that people argue about in the dance community all the time that still just pisses me off so much. There would be like, this move's this, and someone would be like, no, it's called this, like you're wrong. And it's like, oh my god, like it everywhere just has like their own name for something.
yeah,
Like for example, like there's this move where you're in a turtle freeze and you spin. Some people call it turtles, some people call it crabs, some people call it geckos, and they're all like, no, I'm right.
yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my god, just Holy shit.
You know what was funny was I forgot what's that one move called where you are kind of in a turtle freeze, but you're kind of like hopping up and down with your hands. What is that called?
Okay, so this is funny because there was this whole thing on Instagram about this just now. So the one where you have okay, so as I learned them, and as a lot of new new b-boys learn them, they're called crickets.
Crickets.
So
Yeah.
it's where you're spinning with your left. Well, in my case, it'll be my left because I'm right-handed. But like you're pushing with your left and you're hopping on your right hand, in a turtle freeze.
Hmm.
And then if you were to let go of that left hand and just keep spinning and hopping on one arm, it'd be called a jackhammer.
Jackhammer. Yeah, because I
Yeah, a
remember
jackhammer.
that was what
Yeah.
Cloud does in one of his battles. I remember
Yeah,
doing.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
And but it's funny because there was this thing on Instagram where this like OG b-boy named Alien S like got just like all up in the comments of this guy because he's like a well-known b-boy and they're actually called hopping hand glides.
you know,
Yeah,
it was funny because one time I remember my cousin Derek Yui that's his Vietnamese name, but he said, "Oh, I
yeah,
can
Derek.
hand hop." And I'm like, "So you can get upside down and hop on your hands?" He goes, "No." Then he shows it to me, and it was actually the cricket movement. And I'm
Mm,
like, "Is that hand hopping?" I don't know if it's. I mean, it makes sense, but
yeah,
it does
hand
not look.
hopping is normally when you're hopping in a handstand.
Yeah, yeah, in
Yeah, yeah,
handstand. So it's just
yeah.
funny just seeing all these moves and like no one actually, it's kind of like a folk song, right? It's like no one knows where like the name came from or like what the name is. They just know that as a move, and so I just
I would say it's only like that because people don't look for it. Like the information's out there to find it, and like every breaker like just tries. I'm not gonna lie, like I love the breaking community, and like I'm not like I'm a b-boy and stuff, but it's like I think it's actually a problem in the general dance community that they
Mhm.
don't honestly give enough respect to the people that came before them. I think they do, and they say they do, but they actually don't give it as much respect to the people who came before them as they actually do.
Yeah,
So it's like they they kind of have that same mentality of like, "Oh, we'll never know." And it's like, "Well, no, you just don't ask or you don't look for it,
yeah,
and you
yeah.
don't care enough to find out." So it's like I that information is out there. It's just like but though to be fair, it is hard to find because a lot of the like people who created there's a lot of just like, politics and like who created what,
Mhm.
when, like people like OGs argue, or like have conflicting stories, and it's like,
Mhm.
who are we to say who's right or wrong, you know?
Yeah,
Like not us, so not me, like at least. So it's kind of like I'll give that at the same time, like it is hard to find information, the correct information. And it might not always be easy to, it's not just like they'll hand it to you at the same time. So I do give everyone that credit, but I also think that there is a lot of like kind of just ignorance where people just won't go looking for information too, you know. But I think that's just common everywhere when you really think about
oh yeah, oh
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, that's actually I think one of my fondest, most favorite memories of learning dance was I remember one of the other breakers, Joey, was teaching me a move, and he goes, "Yeah, this is Chicago style." And I remember when I told you about it, you're like, "Joey says everything is Chicago style because he's from Chicago. There's did not originate from Chicago." So I remember
Like
that.
it's I see, but here's the thing, which is funny because I said that, but it's like what Joey means and what I like about Joey though, which I didn't want to say that to like discredit him, but it's like he says it because it's his feeling and that's important. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? And that's
yeah,
like really important because him doing that is the Chicago style,
yeah, yeah.
because he is from Chicago.
And that's
It's one of those
his, yeah,
things,
that's his
you
spin
know.
on it,
Yeah,
like
so it's
so.
like but my point, I guess, even though I'm just an ass sometimes, my point is that find your style,
Yeah,
don't teach him the Chicago style because 'cause you're not from Chicago,
yeah,
like, how are you gonna get the Chicago style, you
yeah.
know, kinda
And
thing,
and
like,
that
not in a
was
disrespectful way, but,
you know
like,
and
in a
yeah, and
unlock the
yeah,
Paul
but
style.
yeah, the Paul style, yeah, exactly. And that was the one
Yeah.
thing that I remember in one of my earliest days that I can remember dancing. Alex sends me this video. That was the first time I got ever seen B-Boy Cloud. Was and for those who don't know, his name is Daniel Campos. But he did a Michael Jackson routine, and at the end of the video, which was hilarious by the way, he has the saying, "Don't intimidate, originate." And I feel
Yeah.
like that was just so true because there's also in in breakdancing, at least in those battles that we've gone to, there's the people who have that that and for those who don't know the term biting, but it means that you're copying, that you stole the dance from someone. That's generally looked down upon because you're stealing
Hmm.
someone else's move, and so I just find that really funny that you like you said, make it your own. Don't bite other people's moves.
Yeah,
At
yeah.
least try
Well,
not to. Because at the same time,
yeah.
like for me, I dance to Michael Jackson. I'm biting him his whole routine. So
Yeah, well, we all have influence, and,
yeah,
like, when you're starting out, you'll have an influence for sure, and, like,
yeah,
that was just your influence. Like, when I got into pop like, Michael Jackson was that start for dance, but, like, when I got into popping, my influence was this dancer Salah, you know?
hmm
And Salah was, like, amazing to me, and literally, I danced like him. Like, that's how I started because that's how you just latch onto, but then you branch off,
oh yeah,
sooner or later. But
yeah,
here's the thing about biting that's interesting now because dance has become so huge, especially street dance, that, like, in my opinion, and when I talk to people, a lot of people's opinion too, it's hard to call bite on individual moves now
hmm
unless they're, like, very iconic, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like there's, biting wingmills from B-Boy Wing would be very obvious because that's, like, you only ever see one person do that,
right, hmm
And, like, maybe, what else? Like, Hong Ten's, like, freeze transitions, like, on his Hong Ten freezes, like,
hmm
that's his moves, But nowadays, what's interesting is, like, it's biting an entire style, like, way of dancing, flow of dancing.
yeah,
That's kind of what I think biting is kinda turning into now is, like, I think people call out bites for individual moves, but it's like, how do you know someone didn't make that move yet?
yeah,
Or how
hmm
do you know someone didn't make that move already? I mean, like, there's so many b-boys, like, there are b-boys in Yemen, like, breaking on dirt with no shoes, you know?
yeah,
Like, there's literally it's like, there's like, Joey, the guy you were talking about, he had videos of him going to, like, obviously, this was, like, back, like, this is almost 10 years ago now, but, like, Joey had videos of him going to literally, like, a whole school gym full of people breaking, and there was a whole section of little kids doing air flares in South America,
hmm,
somewhere in South America. Like, an
really,
entire gym full of people breaking at extremely high levels of power that they're just never gonna be really recognized by anywhere,
yeah,
because 'cause they're not seen as legit or they don't even know they exist, you know?
hmm
And it's like, God, it's just,
yeah. It's like they think that it originated from them, but they don't actually
yeah.
know that in the greater outside world, that it's already something that's already out there.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. You just have, like, it's just like you just have, like, all these people who are like, "Man, I created this one thing," and it's like there are literally kids doing air flares,
yeah,
like, somewhere where you don't even know, and it's like, even though air flare is just one power move, it doesn't necessarily mean they're creating, these absolutely, unique creative moves, like, it is 100% possible,
hmm
you know? And it is just, like, it's most likely already happened, that someone created it.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
it's the idea of biting styles now.
Yeah, and it's actually now that you mention it with Michael Jackson, when he did the moonwalk, everyone thought, "Oh, he created the moonwalk," when no one
Mhm.
knew there were other dancers that already were doing the move on, you know, like shows like Soul Train and things like that. So, yeah, I thought that was really interesting that you say that how now biting has evolved into a, copying a dance style rather than a dance move, and I guess in a way,
Yeah.
I remember watching the Social Network with where they talk about Facebook's foundings, that Mark Zuckerberg was like, anyone, a person who designs a chair does not owe royalties to the original person who designed a chair. So
Yeah.
I feel like
Mhm.
that's kind of interesting. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah, so and have you gone to battles recently? At least since COVID happened, but you still go to battles,
No.
right?
Yeah, I was actually, like, going to, like, a ton of battles right before COVID,
hmm
and, yeah, that was I was, like, in my, like, kinda peak battle phase right as COVID hit, but obviously I haven't been to one since, but there have been battles that have been happening during
Yeah.
COVID, like, pretty, I don't know how I feel about that, but
Yeah, it doesn't sound safe, but um,
yeah.
any favorite or memorable dance battle moments? Like, do you remember your first one? Do you
Oh,
remember the first one
man.
that you won? Uh,
Oh, man. The first Yeah, because I was kind of a late. starter, especially in like the battle scene.
Mhm.
I would say my first actual battle was I was maybe like 18
Mhm.
maybe, and, was it I think it was Battle Sessions I think it was a yeah, I think it was Battle Sessions Maui, which was, like, usually this breaking battle that happened on Maui, and, I wasn't in the breaking scene at all, but I was kinda the guy on Maui who bridged the gap between my side of the island and the other side of the island breakers. I
Mhm.
was, like, not the first guy ever, but I was the first guy in a while. And I would bring like my whole friend group to that side of the island because I was the only one old enough to drive. So that's the only reason why we did it. It's because I was the only one who was able to drive. So I drove us all over there. And then because there was such like because there were more dancers in the scene, they actually added an all styles battle
Mhm.
to battle sessions. I actually no, wait. They already had one. I think they already had an all style section, but we since I guess we were just going to like try and win, because we were
Yeah.
from the other side of the island. And I went and I ended up making it to the finals. Um and I lost against my friend Alex, who still makes fun of me to this day for beating me because I was the all styles guy and he didn't know like any all styles. He was just a full breaker, like B-boy. And like he also could do all styles, but, like, for real, like, this isn't me, like, trying to be, like, really, like, arrogant about this, but, like, no joke. And Alex was like, "Yeah, this guy did not like you." One of the judges hated me, like, straight up did not like me. Like, it was very apparent, and he made it really obvious because there's video evidence of this. So, basically, in battles, when you tie, you're not saying you vote for both. A tie is saying I am choosing not to vote, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So if there are 2 ties and 1 vote, the 1 vote wins because the 2 ties don't count as uh, a vote at all. You see what I mean?
Right.
So it's essentially whoever gets the 1 point will win. So all 3 judges tied, and then the one judge who is did not like me, all 3 judges tied, looked at the other 2 judges, and then voted for Alex.
Wow.
Yeah, no joke, no joke, and, like, one of my friends has a video of it, like, straight up, and I was like, "God damn it," like, I was like, "Oh my god, did that just happen?" But it was a small battle, and, I'm not gonna lie, I was making a bigger deal out of it than I was. I was all, like, angry the whole night, you know?
Yeah.
It was a small battle, and it was just, like, we were all young, you know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
was 17, like, the judge guy was, like, 20 maybe, you know? Like, there's all just, like, this, like, ego all over the place, kinda
Mhm.
shit,
Yeah.
like, even on me, so it's like because I thought I was just gonna go and win, you know,
Mhm.
because like, I was the only guy, like, training those other styles, I was hella arrogant, like, you all like, growth is, like, it has to hit you sometime,
Yeah.
but at first, it's always kinda like that, so it's funny looking back, so I would say it's actually, like, a funny bad memory. It's, like, one of those things where, you joke about the time, like, "We're gonna laugh about this later," and you're like, "Shut up, no, I'm not," and
And
then
then
you,
you
like,
look
laugh
back on
about it
it and
later.
you laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's yeah a bad memory turned to a good one when you look back on it. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just to clarify for those people who don't know, all styles because typically when you battle, you're battling within one style, whether it's locking battle, popping battle, or dance,
Mhm.
breaking battle. All styles encompasses all three, where you're allowed to employ each and any one of the three at any given time, or even more than just that. Because I know that all styles they also include things like crumping and things like
It's
that.
literally every
Every
style, like,
every
you can
style,
do
yeah,
I've seen people do ballet and tap dancing,
yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's kinda nuts.
and it is kind of unique when you see just that mixture just come out where someone transitions all of a sudden from so it is really cool to see those all styles, and which I think that is actually my favorite dance battle to watch because you have just so many. If you are someone like you who studied all those styles, you have more at your disposal to work with, and um, yeah, I'm not sure if. Who was that one Japanese guy that won America's Got Talent for all of his dances? But I remember there was one
Oh,
move
yeah,
that he did where he's on his back and he stands up by like
yeah,
pulling his knees for
yeah.
and when I saw that I was like Brad did that way before he did. You know?
Yeah, but see, I took that from Salah, you know?
Yeah, so he
Like,
probably
the
did
only
the
reason
same.
I knew how to do that was from Salah, and then even before Salah, I remember this guy, uh, oh my god, what was his name? Robert Moraine. Yeah, I remember this guy, Robert Moraine. I can't remember his dance name. It's like leaving me now, but, like, he did it. He was, like, one of the first guys that I saw do it. Like, I mean, that's who are also another 2 huge influences on me are Robert Moraine and Philip Shabib because I saw them on So You Think You Can Dance.
Mhm, mhm.
Like, those
Yeah.
2 guys, like, really inspired me. I was like, "Okay," I was like, "Salah and these 3 guys are, like" that's what made me wanna do popping and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Salah is French, right? He's
Yeah.
from France?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Salah is French, yeah.
Yeah.
God, I can't remember, but, they all do the see, they all kinda have, like, I don't think Robert Moraine bit Salah or Salah bit Robert Moraine, like, it's so hard to say who did what and when and,
Yeah.
if they were even the first ones. But, yeah, like, it's interesting. It's an interesting
Yeah,
concept.
and so going back to when you said that dance has gotten so big, breakdancing, or I think dancing itself is now becoming part of the Olympics. What
Oh,
are your
yeah.
thoughts on that?
I don't really like that at all. I mean, like, yeah, it's just there's in my mind, there's actually just I'll just be completely honest, this is just all my opinion, but, like, I just think it's literally the worst possible thing. Like, like, everybody says, "Okay, exposure, da, 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 exposure." It's like breaking has had all of this exposure for so long, and it's like the Olympics is just going to take what people think is going to help the breaking scene and, like, what makes the breaking scene good, which is all of these power moves, is basically, like, another gymnastics category almost, because
Mhm,
how do you judge footwork? How do you judge style and character? It is dance is subjective, and that's the other thing that's wrong. I'm gonna go on a tangent because all my mind just goes to a million places when this topic comes up. But like, that's another thing. Who's in charge of like breaking in the Olympics? Is it any of the originators? You know, are any of the originators getting involved? Because if you talk to almost any of the originators, they will say that it's a dance. And in my opinion, you can't really put a like who's better at dance, like a number on it,
mhm.
like you just have an opinion, and no matter how much you think like there's this like actual way to rate a dance, it's actually impossible because someone can do insane amount of power moves
Head
and
spins, air
head spins
flares,
and all that stuff, and that's fine, and that is that is considered breaking, like it is, but it's like
but then
some people just
how do you
might
compare
not
that?
like that.
Yeah, and how
Yeah,
can you
but
compare
what
that
if
to top
some
rock? Yeah, like
yeah, someone does or someone doing like insane footwork techs, like in like footwork combos or flows or like freeze transitions. And like let's not even start talking about musicality, things about like dynamics and level changes, like especially like see even those are just too technical, like even getting to like feeling, you know what I mean, and like
Mhm.
musicality, how well you work with the music. You can't play certain music there because of copyright stuff.
And
Like
maybe
that's why Red Bull BC1 has really weird music, or like gets like DJs who make their own music because of copyright
yeah.
stuff.
But also
Like,
maybe because some of the music may not be appropriate for the audience, or they may get turned off because of the certain music that they play,
well, I
too.
mean,
But
well, even then, it's like again, that's still kind of like you're taking away a part of the dance and the culture by doing
yeah,
that, and
hmm
it's like if there are kids there, they should know what they're gonna get themselves into, and that's on the parents. Like that's like, yeah, I'm gonna take my kid to this event, like that's breaking. Like, and you're gonna be like, okay, what do you know what happens at breaking events? No. Well, maybe you should look it up. Maybe you should like figure it out. Like, I think it's just one of those things where they just try and like take breaking and they try and put like a bow on it, and they're like selling it to the public, and all
yeah,
the originators, like, and everything, like don't get any more recognition than they have. And let's not even talk about the fact that the Olympics is already racist. And like, let's not also get into the fact that these dances, specifically street style dances that come from Black culture, are all direct opposition like to things like capitalism and racism. Like, they were created as an opposition to those things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why these dances exist. Like, and it just goes against, in my opinion, everything that like created breaking, joining the Olympics. It's
Yeah.
like just not. It's just not. It just doesn't sit well with me. You know, and that's that again. That's what I said in the beginning. This is my personal opinion, but yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you in the sense that dance is way too subjective to be in the Olympics because there's no way that you can categorize or judge something, especially with like if they were to somehow employ or use an all styles battle, how can you judge popping versus locking versus breaking, kind of things like that. So for me, I think dance is too subjective for that. To
Yeah.
be considered a sport. But and I remember there was back during the days of the Red Bull BC one that when I used to watch it a lot,
Mhm.
they used to have 5 judges and they would pick who they thought was the better dancer, and then they moved to a point system, and that caused a lot of controversy because it's like, hey, they did well in these categories, but because they didn't do well in this category, they don't earn the point, therefore they lose, even though clearly they were the better dancer, they just flopped in one category.
Mhm.
So I just thought that was very interesting that
Yeah.
that I'm not sure if the Red Bull BC one still uses that. I don't think that they do use the point system anymore. But
I don't know.
yeah, it's been a while since I watched Red Bull BC one. But
Yeah.
yeah, I thought that was interesting. But
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And
yeah,
that's a good point you bring up about like how do you judge like the styles against each other, you know?
mhm,
Because in all styles battles, like I think I think that's something that people don't really think about, you know?
mhm,
You kind of are, and I kind of I get it in a sense because like you are feeling energy overall. In a lot of people, that's what it is. Like it's kind of like how you receive that dancer's energy if you don't understand the dance style, you
mhm,
know? And I can see how that opinion is valid, but that's only because most people's opinions are valid in that case. That's just how they like the dance, you know? And like they're just if they're uneducated in that dance style, you know, it's not necessarily their fault in an all styles battle scenario, you
mhm,
know. And you know, like I think, and this is just me speaking to the air, you know, but like I think having at least 5 judges in an all styles battle, and I don't know why more dance. I mean, I get why because of like funding and stuff, but like you know, usually the whole traditional like judges like is like 3, you know, there's 3 judges.
mhm,
I always say in all styles there needs to be a minimum of 5 judges, you know,
yeah,
and like have an idea of how many dance styles, you know, are in the general community and who might show up, you know, and cater to all of them, you know. I
yeah.
think in an all style scenario like that can work.
Yeah, because that would be
But
problematic if in an all-style scenario you have 5 judges who have a b-boy background. They're probably gonna
you
feel more
see,
biased towards the b-boys,
yeah.
and they may not understand the locking or the popping or the crumping or the sea walking. And oh, by the way, which people who may not know, sea walking, that's short for crip walking.
Oh god.
So,
Oh
oh
jeez.
God, right?
Paul.
Yeah, I've never personally done
No.
any crip
It's
walking or sea walking, but um,
no one really should be doing that one. There
yeah.
was like I know there was like clown and crown walking, I believe back then, but I don't know. I don't want to talk about I personally don't speak on that because I don't know anything about it, you know?
Yeah,
But
neither do I, but I just remember one time when you told me about sea walking, and then you said it's short for crip walking. I was like, oh,
I think that's
right?
originally yeah, I think that I mean, that's what how I heard it because it was like people like it was just like a fad, back I mean, I don't wanna say sorry, that sounds really bad. It was not just like the general public took it as that, you know what I mean?
Mhm,
It's actually a very you know, like, real thing, but the I'm talking about more like when I was, like, in high school, like, people kinda took it and made it like this try to make it like this internet trend almost, you
mhm,
know?
yeah,
And it was kinda like it always just felt wrong with me, you know? It always felt really weird that people were doing that, you know, with
yeah.
that dance, but
Yeah,
But
and
yeah, oh geez, you
yeah.
reminded me. I forgot about that.
And then yeah, and you also got into a lot of were you the president of Duck Street Dance Club at the University of Oregon? Or you were the
I
president,
wasn't
right? Or
I wasn't the president. I was the vice president,
vice president?
and yeah, I was a president of the Flock Rock U of O, the breaking club there,
Mm-hmm.
for my senior year, super senior year.
Super victory lap
Yeah,
here.
yeah, right.
Yeah, my fondest memories was still coming out to the basketball court outside the blacktops, laying
Oh
out
yeah.
the cardboard, that we put together from cardboard and gorilla tape, and Joey would bring
Yeah,
out his oh, no, no,
the
it was Joey, it was
boombox.
Austin, Austin's
Yeah,
boombox,
yeah,
yeah,
Austin. Yeah, yeah.
named Physics, and we would dance.
Physics.
Yeah, and then I got my own boombox, and we started using that one, and I called that one Cloud after Bboy Cloud. But yeah, those were good times carrying those boomboxes around, and it felt like the '70s
Dude,
again. Yeah, those were
that
some
was
great
so
memories of
fun,
mine. Yeah,
man.
and then after
That was
that,
like,
we would get
yeah.
burgers at one of the dining halls,
At
afterwards.
Hamilton? Yeah, I
Hamilton, yeah,
remember.
yeah. I forgot what
Yeah,
that place was
yeah.
called, but
Yeah, I
those are
still
great
remember.
times.
Yeah, man, that was really fun. That was like me and Austin just messing around. We were like, "It's sunny out, spring. Do you want to like make a cardboard floor?" And at the duck store, they had like these huge cardboard panels.
Yeah,
You know? Yeah.
it was like what, it was 1 foot by 1 foot, so we put together like 9 of them or something. No,
No,
it
no,
was three
they
by
were
three.
bigger than
Yeah,
that.
they
It
were.
was like
I think it was.
3
I
feet
think
by
3 feet.
4
Yeah,
or something.
three. Because I
Yeah.
remember. Yeah, I remember because we had three cardboard panels kind of taped together, and it looked like a 9 by 9, and we would fold it up, and then one of
Yeah.
us had to take it home. So
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I kept it like everywhere, dude. I kept it like in the trunk of my car. I kept it in my freaking like closets. Like we made so many of them.
yeah, every year we would
Yeah.
make one, and I remember, man, I forgot what year was it, but I think Rafa hit it somewhere, in
Yeah.
on campus, on like the
Yeah,
ceilings,
Raph.
on like a
He
roof
put it on the
somewhere.
roof. He put it
Yeah,
on the roof
on
of
the roof of.
what's the science building
No,
called?
it wasn't the science building. It was the I think it was somewhere near Straub Hall. I think it was.
Straub.
Straub.
It was on top of Straub. That's what it
Yeah,
was. He hit it there
he
and
hit
it
it there.
lasted the whole
Oh, so
summer.
yeah, because
That's so
I
nuts.
remember that, yeah, because it's like, where are we gonna stash this? Like, people are moving and things like that. No one's gonna be in Eugene. And I said I was, but I didn't realize. But he stashed it up there, and then one day we walked there, we grabbed it, and I was like, "What are you? Why are we here?" And he
Oh my
climbs
god.
up onto the roof and he finds it, and then you're like, "Oh my God, it's still there!" So
Dude, I have the picture still on my phone
yeah.
of him finding it again. I have the picture still
Yeah,
somewhere.
I also
That
remember.
was fun.
Also remember my first, like, I guess when things were really starting to come together was right before they tore down the Memorial Union. They allowed people to
Mhm.
go through and graffiti the whole place, and we actually set
Yeah.
up the cardboard boxes there, and we danced.
You were there for that on the second floor, right?
I was there. I have
Which
a picture of me
yeah.
doing my quote unquote Nike freeze with
Yeah,
Lance behind me.
yeah,
Yeah.
you had with the whole group, we battled each other in the the graffiti, right, on the second floor?
Yes, yes.
Like
I still
yeah,
have
oh
that
my
picture.
god, I remember that.
Yeah,
Dude, we
great.
were all, like, high on fumes.
Yeah, it
Like,
was
we
a
had to
hot day
stop.
too. Yeah.
Remember, we had to stop because I was, like, getting nauseous. I was like, "Why am I getting so nauseous?" And we're all like, "Oh my god, we're dancing in, like, just freshly painted spray paint,
Yeah,
like, all around us." I
the
was like
spray paint literally that literally took place no more than a few hours after that. So we were
yeah.
all just sitting there like, it was hot, and like, like, hey, let's just go to Hamilton and get some burgers or something for real. So, oh my God. Those were some good times, though, I will say. Yeah, I
Yeah.
do miss that camaraderie. We had a Facebook group too,
Yeah.
and I think it was either a month or two ago. I forgot who it was. Was it Jonathan that messaged the he was like, "Hey, hope everyone's doing well." And when I saw it, I was like, "Oh my God, this Facebook group still exists." I haven't
Wow.
visited this in so long.
I haven't seen yeah, I haven't seen, like, any of that. Yeah, I haven't seen, like, any of that Facebook group in so long either, like John or I mean, yeah, it's been a long time
Yeah, it's
since
been
I've been
definitely a long
in
time. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, any other fun memories of battling? Like when you
Yeah.
made someone, I remember there was one story you told me about where you told the guy that when he said he kept telling you were whack or something like that. I remember that.
Oh
That
my
was
god, yeah, I got called out at I got so it's okay, so yeah, I'll just tell the whole story. So it's essentially like I had just injured myself from a different battle.
Mhm.
So from like I was injured from a previous battle, and like there was a battle in Gresham coming up. Actually, it was in Gresham, and it's a 2v2, and you know Zach, of course, and Zach and Davin were gonna enter. And it ended up being that when they were coming up, Davin didn't know if he was gonna be able to make it because of work, and it ended up being that Davin couldn't make it. So Zach was just not gonna enter. And I was like, you know what, man? Like I'm injured and like, but I can still kind of dance. You know, it was my hamstring, so like I could top rock and do footwork. I just couldn't do any of my like big power moves. You know, and like Zach was just kind of like, oh, I just want to like enter and have fun. So I was like, dude, I'll enter with you. So I entered with him, and like when we went up to battle, essentially there's like this just kind of trope for b-boys who like they never want to like each side is like they're kind of scared to go out almost.
Yeah,
Like we just
yeah.
wait for a long time.
It's like that. The way that I describe it to people is like it's like the 20 minutes when you're at prom where no one's dancing at the beginning.
Yeah, oh, that's such a good example. It's like
Yeah.
that, but like angry, sweaty dudes.
Yeah,
Like
angry sweaty
it's
dudes.
like yeah, it's like that. And it's just because they think that they have a disadvantage by going out first because like battle strategy is like a real thing. So like how you respond to another person's round like matters. So people who are really good at picking apart someone else's round and like one-upping them, you know, it can
Mhm.
be dangerous.
Yeah.
So it's like nobody wants to go out first, but it's like there's a trope with b-boys that are just the worst. Like there's literally this one battle where people didn't go out for like 5 minutes. And it was like the DJ had to stop playing music. It was so bad. And like this was not one of those cases.
I think
It
that
was literally
was that at the BC one. It was
yeah, yeah.
crap.
Gravity and Munir, I think.
No, it wasn't Gravity Munir. I think it was Munir and was it? Yeah, no, it was Munir. He was French. It was French and I mean, it could have been Munir, but I remember like it was because Munir had just recently won the previous year's Red Bull BC
Yeah.
one.
I think it was actually Munir and Gravity
Yeah,
where it was like a 5 minute thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
or I think it was Munir and maybe another French guy. I don't remember, but yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but yeah, it was that one. It was super bad. But this case with me and this guy was not that case at all. Like it had been like 10 seconds since the music started, and we were just kind of like, because it's also kind of like if you both go out at the same time, like how you react to that also matters. Like if you back up, you know what I mean? Like if you both go out kind of hard and like whoever backs up essentially is the scared one. You know what
Hmm.
I mean?
Yeah,
And like in most not all dance styles operate this way, but breaking it does, you
yeah.
know. Like or some judges, I don't want to say it does. Some judges will consider that, you know. So it's like you kind of want to wait a second, you know, because you don't want to get caught in that situation.
Yeah.
Um or you can if you want to, but I personally don't. So I was waiting like 10 seconds, and this dude just immediately starts talking smack. You know, he's like, "You're whack. You're so whack." And I'm like, me and Zach are kind of like, "What the hell?" Like we didn't even do any. Like we haven't even danced yet, and like I don't know. Like I'm just kind of again, like I said, like I'm an ass. Like I don't like talking shit. I don't like. It's just not that fun for me. So I just try and like make people like. I just try and like make that person look kind of dumb and silly. So, you know, he's like yelling at me and I'm like pretending I can't hear him. I'm like, what? You know, and he's like falling for it.
Yeah.
He's like, "Ah, you're whack." And I'm like, what? And he's like, "You're whack." And I'm like, what? And he goes, "You're whack." And I stop him. I go, "I heard you the first time. Just keep dancing." You know, and like he just like stops talking and he keeps dancing. Like it was stuff like that. And like they just started talking a bunch of shit and the battle ended and it was super awkward because there was no high fives after. Usually there's like high fives, you know, or like
Yeah.
handshake. And then like me and Zach were kind of like, that was weird, but like whatever, we don't care. So we went off to the side and like we started watching our footage. And then they like these two guys come over and they have their hands out. So we thought they were gonna shake our hands. So we're like, oh yeah, good man. And then they go, no, we're battling right now. And they were like, oh shit, dude, like what? And then they called us out on like the road. So we battled on the road and it was like it was just kind of weird. Like they like honestly we were all kind of the same level. I think they were maybe a little bit more skilled than us, but like they ended up walking away. And when you walk away, you lose.
Hmm.
Like that's how cipher battles work.
Yeah.
Like you either get smoked so hard that everybody knows you lost or one person gives up,
Yeah.
you know? And like that's how you give up and they just gave up and like it's just a weird it's like a that was a it's a funny memory looking back, but it's just kind of a weird like commentary in my mind about like breaking battles and like how they operate, and like people just like calling people out for no reason. Like, like these guys just immediately started talking shit to us. Why? We
Mhm.
don't know them. We weren't even dancing yet. It had been 15 seconds since the battle started. It's probably because they were told to be aggressive. They were told like b-boys need to be aggressive, and like that's the environment that they dance in, because that's the environment that I learned in. That's literally the first thing I heard about breaking. It was they were like, you need to be aggressive. Like, and it's like, what the fuck? What if I don't want to be aggressive? Like, I don't want to do it.
I'm a nice
Like,
guy.
yeah, it's like you don't want to be like that all the time. So it's like I don't know. It's this weird, like, again, commentary about like the breaking scene, because a lot of like call outs are like that. A lot of like shit talking is like that, just like
Mhm.
for no reason. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So that's a good funny memory. I mean, I have a few memories of like being just totally injured, like just annihilating myself. Like I remember doing like three, like I'll do like a spin into a split,
Mhm.
like a half split, like not like the full splits, but like a half jazz split. And like I did one where I did a jump 360 and I landed with my like leg shifted like at an angle, and
Oh.
I pulled my hamstring so hard, like I was out for so long. And like I remember one time at U of O, I had hurt my back so bad that I had to get carried to the hospital.
Was that
And they thought I had like they thought I like broke my back, and then it was like no big deal, and they were basically like making fun of me, and they're like, get the fuck out of here.
carried to the hospital? I wasn't there for that.
Yeah, I didn't actually I didn't really get full on carried, but they had to literally carry me out of the building into a car, and then I had to get like, not like, like carried as in like I have my arms around two people,
Yeah.
and I'm like really not using my legs. Like yeah, it was pretty bad back then, but
Yeah.
it's just like
I I
memories, man.
I remember I my worst injury I ever had was, I think I bone bruised my knee. I was trying to do a routine where I had just seen, I remember because one of my favorite moves I've ever done was a knee spin. And I
Mm,
thought you could do so much more with that, because I remember I watched Step Up 2, and during the final routine, one guy does a knee spin like 6 times in one
yeah.
spin. I was like, holy crap, that's cool. And I thought, hey, if I knee spin and I knee spin and I go into a baby freeze, and from a baby freeze I drop and I do a backspin, and from a backspin I get back up, so I have a routine of going
Mm,
down and back up. And I
nice.
remember, oh
It's a
my
good
gosh,
that's
I
good.
that was before I realized that b-boys and sometimes breakers use extra gear like elbow pads and knee pads.
Yeah,
I didn't have that, and my
yeah,
God, my knee was like,
yeah, dude.
it hurt so bad. I was like, I can't, I could barely bend my knee. So I was like, and it was terrible. But you live and you learn.
Yeah,
At that point, I got knee pads. I think Joey gave me some of his knee pads to use
yeah, he always
temporarily.
had knee pads and stuff. He helped me out with that a lot too. He let me borrow his, like, husband beanies and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, dude.
because I thought, hey, I don't need knee pads. I can do it. The guy in Step Up 2 probably didn't have knee pads. Nope, he did. He did.
Yeah, yeah.
Professional dancer, and he
There's
does.
yeah, there are like Daven can do a lot of knee spins. I don't know how people do knee spins, honestly. Like I hurt my knees so bad, and like that's like knees and your back are the things like I don't want to like mess up.
Yeah,
Like, you
yeah,
know.
your knees and your back. Yeah, those are the two things you don't ever want to mess up. That's
Yeah.
the knees are usually the first to go. I mean, like if you're hiking, it's always harder on your knees.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
man, my knees are destroyed, and my wrists too, because I do that handstand.
Oh yeah, the handstand where you go on your
Yeah, the wrists.
wrists. Yeah.
Yeah, the I call it the for the Instagram move, because I just like I like realized that like I had a lot of like I don't know, that's for some reason I guess the only move like cool enough for picture taking, because like that's the only picture I get in like any battle, like like battles I get like photos. It's
Hmm.
always me doing the wrist handstand, which is kind of funny, but it's like it just became a joke I have on Instagram. If like you look at my Instagram, like there's just so many photos of that.
Yeah.
I'm just like here, like here's me on my fucking wrist again, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I guess it's because it's a move where everyone freaks
It's
out
a shock
over.
value move.
Yeah,
I don't even do it anymore, because I realized that's why I was doing it, and I was like, that's lame. I want people to be hyped for my dancing, not because I do some like some like intense looking stuff, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. You want people to remember the dance routine rather than get out their cameras just for that one instance,
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's why I stopped with the whole like trying to bone break, because I could kind of do like like bone breaking, like flexibility stuff, and
not
like not
literally for
saying,
the people who don't know
yeah,
bone
not literally,
breaking. You're not breaking
yeah,
your bones. You're doing moves that look
yeah,
like you're breaking your bones. Just really flexible
yeah.
moves. So.
And I don't mean like the actual style of bone breaking. I was definitely not doing the actual style. I just took elements of bone breaking, like actually doing the flexible arm stuff.
Hmm.
Like, since I wasn't actually bone breaking, I was just doing weird moves. You know what I mean? To like
Hmm.
people, like that's how people saw them.
Yeah.
So it's just like they were just grossed out because I could take my arm out of my socket. But I wasn't dancing like the actual bone breakers were. So like I had to realize that, and I was like, that's something, like you have to realize that it's like, oh damn, they don't actually like my dancing. They like the move, that one single move.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same with that wrist thing. I'm just like, damn.
Yeah. So
You live, you learn.
yeah, and for those people who don't know as well, typically, and when we mention all these dancers' names, a lot of them have these nicknames, be it like Sugar Pop and things like that. Brad, what is your
Yeah.
dancing name? You've gone through a few that I know of.
I don't really honestly have one right now. I mean, what I what I realized is that so like the dancer names, it originated as just your nickname.
Yeah.
That's literally what they called them all, like, as kids.
Hmm.
And it's like some names are given by like mentors, some names just the person comes up with. I think they're all valid as long as it really sticks, and it
Hmm.
matters to that person. I think for me, I never really just had one that stuck. Like I had some that like made sense at the time, and I think looking back, like that was a name that fit well for like the time. Like for example, like it's a very cliche name, but my first name I was ever given was Slick, and it was because I put too much like hair product in. Like that's how the guys said. That's what the guys told me, because they called
Yeah.
me Slick. And then when I started doing the bone breaking moves, it changed to Twisted, was like the name that I went by. And then after Twisted, like I was given a few kind of like, I wouldn't really call them names. They're just names that I like entered as to like try out,
Hmm.
because Twisted didn't really make sense. Twisted stopped being a thing after I stopped doing the arm moves,
Yeah.
or the bone breaking moves. So it's like, how can I be the same name if I don't? That's like what I base the whole name off of, or character. And it's like, I went by like, oh man, what was it? Oh yeah, I went by Twisted for actually a longer time than I thought, just because I couldn't think of a name. The funny one that I actually liked, which I would have kept, but it's just too playful, is Bradass. Like I loved Bradass. That was like my favorite one, but it's like that was just me kind of messing around. But like I also like it was also kind of represented me really well, I think, in a way, because it was like just kind of like a funny pun,
Hmm.
that was like not really, that's like, and it kind of matches me where it's like, yeah, I'm badass, but I'm like
Yeah.
not, like that's the whole point, like badass, where it's like that's kind of like the whole joking character that was created by it, where it was like I wanted to be like funny, but also like every once in a while you're like, that was kind of cool, kind of thing. Like maybe he is badass, and then you're like, oh, never mind, he's doing something weird, like
Yeah.
like, but
I
I try to make it all make sense. I guess now the one I do, I don't really have one now. I've been coming up with some funny ones with Grady and Kai, because we're all trying to like just think of new names, but like none of them have really stuck. Like,
I think Bradass actually was very fitting. Before
yeah,
we get into the further on to the topic of discussion was, um, there was a comedian that I watched, and he's foreign, and he said that the word ass has so many different meanings. It does not mean your rear or anything like that. Like he says that it's so confusing. He can write a book on it, and he goes to explain like, oh, so it can amplify the meaning of a word, or reverse the meaning of a word. So it's like, or it does not, or it means something else. Like for example, when you say lazy ass, right? If you,
oh
it
yeah,
amplifies the word lazy. It's like,
yeah,
you don't even
yeah,
mean the
yeah,
word ass. You just say the word lazy. Or if they say move your ass, it's not move your rear. You move your
yeah,
whole thing. Like if you're in a
body,
car, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
But then he says like it can also reverse the meaning. Like if you say bad ass, it doesn't mean that you're bad and it's amplified. It means you're good. You're awesome, right? So he goes,
That's
it's
kind
just
of
so
funny.
he's like, it's just so confusing. So when you say Brad as, are you amplifying the word Brad? So it's like Brad, or are you saying, So I just thought it was really really funny when you said Brad ass like that, because
God damn. That's
um,
amazing.
but anyways, I had two dancing names. When I started dancing to Michael Jackson, people started calling me Paul Jackson just
I remember
because.
that.
And then after
Yeah.
that, Alec gave me my dance name, which was and I still thank him to this day because it's such a cool name and it was so original. Because he said, "Hey, a fam" or something like that, and I thought he said Alfam, which was a
Oh
spin. My
yeah.
my last name is Pham, Pham, and he said, I thought he said Alfam, which was a play on the word alpha and then the last name Fam, because the word
Oh yeah.
alpha, then you just put an M at the end of it, it just becomes
Yeah.
Alfam. So I thought,
Awesome.
oh, isn't that cool? And then he goes, what? I'm like, you just gave me that dancing name, right? And he goes, no, I just called you a fam. And I was like, oh, I thought you said
Oh,
Alfam. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like, I want
that's
that
actually
name.
pretty. See, that's
So,
a cool. There you go. See, and then that's what it. See, that's a good example of like a name sticking.
yeah,
That like kind of organically happens, and I think that's the difference between like my why I don't really have a name, because the name hasn't organically happened
yeah,
until recently. But like I don't know if I want to use it because it's almost too like I do want to use it in my head. I'm like I want to use this, but then when I say it out loud, I'm just kind of like it's almost too kiddish, maybe. But like I don't know, just the way
what's
it
the
like
name?
rolls off the tongue. Well, yeah, I'll just explain the story first because it's like Kai and Grady and I play Ghost of Tsushima a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and Grady's Japanese and I'm Japanese,
Mm-hmm.
and like we just kind of have always had this really cool like I don't know about Grady, but at least for me, I've always been really into like samurai and like you know stuff like that, like but actually trying to get to know like the actual like cultural aspect of it, not like the like pop culture aspect of like
Uh-huh.
stuff. Of course, that I love that stuff too, but like I I do like really kind of delve into that at one point in my life because I was just really into it, like.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about like the idea, like, because there's like samurai and then there's ronin, which is a ronin without which is a samurai without a master,
Yeah,
without like they're kind of like rogue, like they're like mercenaries almost,
yeah.
and like in the game there's like stone, they're like different stances, stone, water, moon, whatever, and it's like Grady was talking and was like there's a thing called a stone striker ronin,
Mm-hmm.
and like it's just like a setup, and it's like he somehow said like stone ronin, and then he said stone and ronin, and I was like stone and ronin. I was like that kind of sounds
That's
super
that
cool.
sounds
I was
cool.
like and then I was like, but here's the thing, and this is where I had kind of the actual like kind of an epiphany, like I had
Mm-hmm.
a realization in the moment, because I was like I've been thinking for so long that I wanted like a dance name, but then it kind of made sense to me where I was like I don't think I want one. Like it
Mm-hmm.
always felt awkward to me personally, not in a way where I think it's an awkward thing. I actually think it's a really cool thing. I would want to have one, but like at the end of the day, I'm realizing that maybe that's just not what fits me right now. And it's like something that I would just enter as if I were to enter a battle.
Yeah.
So it's not really like I don't really want to have it as the idea of like a dance name,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as something that like people would call me, like outside of the battles, but I think it would just be like more of a title, you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
than like an actual name. So it's like that's just what I'm thinking of, because I'm like, oh, it's just kind of like, and that's what kind of makes me be like, oh, I really want to use it because it's like more of a funny title than like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is my identity,
Right. Yeah.
like I just kind of like the idea, because when I think of you know, like Stone Ronin doesn't sound as cool as Stone and Ronin, there's obviously like a weed innuendo in there somewhere, but
Yeah.
like even regardless, just like the idea of like stoic, you know, like mercenary has like Boba
Mm-hmm.
Fett, like I'm
Yeah.
always been into that kind of thing, like
Yeah.
has always been kind of a cool like idea for me. But then also like yeah, like I don't know, it's just kind of a weird concept that I've been thinking of, like how I want to address, like approach like my dance name, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, I
Yeah,
mean, if you want some funny names, I guess with some Japanese origins, are you familiar with the person Hattori Hanzo from Japan?
yeah, like
S-
the
yeah,
he was like a
the samurai.
samurai,
Yeah.
yeah,
So there is a character in Overwatch named Hanzo that
yeah,
he and we he a lot of people pick him as a character and he's not whenever people play him on our team he's not that good,
yeah.
so we call him Hand Soap.
So
So maybe you could do something like
is
that
it
where
because he
you,
can't fire the arrow correctly? It's
yeah,
like slippery
because it's,
hands.
yeah, slippery hands, yeah,
Yeah, slippery hands.
so so it's like, hey, he's Hand Soap. It's like we got a Hand Soap on our team. or
Oh my God,
or
hands.
there's another
So
character named Genji who's a
yeah, Genji.
samurai, and usually you never when you're playing a game mode where the other team's attacking you and you have to defend. And if we see a Genji, we want to know he's not really that good of a player because you don't really want to pick Genji on defense. But number two, we call him Defenji.
Def-
Defenji. So yeah,
Benji.
so yeah,
That's so funny.
so yeah, you can probably come up with some pretty cool names like that, or
Yeah,
so, or
yeah. We.
go ahead.
Oh no, 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 no. It's just been like we've just been like kind of messing around because like it's just like stuff that I don't know. It's just it's always been kind of a fun, like just funny thing because you
Well,
want to find something that's also kind of just cool.
like I guess right now in the era of COVID, you could be Hand Soap, right? Because it's that's what you're gonna need right now when you go into dance battles. Like you
Get
just
ready to be
carry,
disinfected.
yeah, exactly, right? Like you can just walk around
Yeah.
with like a bar of soap, you know, just
I'm
be
just
like,
gonna make. I'm just gonna. It's gonna be like what's it called? You know Arnold Schwarzenegger from Batman Forever.
you mean
Is that what it is?
Batman and
Batman and
Robin?
Robin. Batman and Robin. Yeah, I'm just gonna be like those level of soap puns.
What killed the
Yeah,
dinosaurs? The Ice Age.
the Ice Age. Oh my God.
You lie. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Time
Terrible
to
movie.
kick some ice. So
uh,
bad. Oh man.
yeah, but yeah, yeah. Well, it was nice talking to you about dance. Finally, something that's right up your
Yeah.
alley. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been kind of fun to look back on all those memories, and yeah, some of those memories I forgot until I started thinking about them more recently. So
Yeah. I had forgot about the EMU thing before they destroyed it. That's a really cool memory actually, because yeah, that was the last they had taken it down maybe like a couple days after.
yeah,
Right.
they literally started construction and demolishing it a couple days after. So, and which is why
Yeah.
they allowed all the students to come in and spray paint it
Yeah.
and graffiti it and things like that. I remember Joey showed up to it and actually started breakdancing while everyone was graffitiing, which I was like,
Yeah. It's
eh,
not safe.
it's
But I
not
mean,
safe. Joey.
not safe, but that's Joey. Damn. That's such I miss
Yeah.
that guy. Shout out Joey.
Yeah.
Joey Chicago.
Yeah. All right.
Miss you,
Well
man.
then. Okay. Well, hopefully he'll see this.
Right?
But but yeah. Well, oh, also by the way, do you know if because not so Joey was the mascot, the duck mascot at the University of Oregon. He was one of them, anyways.
Oh, are we allowed to talk about that?
I think we maybe I don't know, but do you know if he ever danced while as the
Oh,
duck? Like
sorry,
was
Joey. I'm throwing you under the bus here, but yeah, he told like I don't know if he did it at
at the
a game,
games?
but he did tell us that he did tell me that one time he like he'd try to do it like in his house with the suit on, and he said like certain moves he could actually hold for like a really long time because of like the weight distribution of the suit. So like he could hold like one-handed handstands sometimes for like a long time because the head would be pulling him one way, but his feet were so big that it would like hold him up the other way, like something like that. So it's kind of a funny thing to think
Oh
about,
my
like the duck doing a
god.
one-handed handstand for
That's
like a really long
great.
time.
That's great. Oh man, good times. Well, next
Yeah.
time we'll have a few other dancers that will be joining us, and we'll get more perspectives on dance and just talking about dance in general. But
Yeah.
yeah, Brad, it was great having you on board again.
Yeah, it was fun, Paul.
We'll
Thanks for
definitely,
inviting me.
yeah, of course, we'll definitely look forward to having you on the next one.
Yeah, of course, man.
Yeah,
I
take
look
it easy.
forward to it. You too, man.